part 2 of my 2021 bullet journal flip through. Part 1 of the flip through is linked in the description if you'd also like to check that one out. It's time to reveal a lot of blank and unfinished pages in my journal. Starting off, I have my 2021 yearly spreads. As always, I have a very minimal theme to it, but there are also 2 unfinished pages, so we're just going to skip past those. And starting off with the first month, I have May. For this month's theme, I did a floral light bulb theme, and it was actually very inspired by my January theme that was earlier this year. Going back to what I was doing during this time, I'm pretty sure I started my shop around the middle of the month. You can see from the stickers scattered around the spreads that I was definitely having a lot of fun creating my own stickers. For some reason, I thought it would be a good idea to open my shop during the same time as my finals. I'm not really sure what I was thinking. Even then, I was still able to get some prototype stickers done and end the school year with pretty good grades given school was all online last year. And I'm honestly not really sure how I was able to get the grades that I did. My motivation by the end of the year was completely gone, and I was just drawing with my camera off in all of my classes. Next up is June, and the theme for this month is very inspired by the song Christmas in June by AJR. And now thinking back to it, I probably should have done Christmas in June. I was so busy with finals the entire month that I completely forgot that it was Christmas. I'm hoping next year I can be a little bit more festive, but given that it's my junior year, I'm not really going to count on it. But going back to June, I was able to launch my shop and get my first sale. At this point in time, my digital art style was kind of all over the place. I ended up looking back at the old designs and I wasn't really happy with the style I'd done them in, so I spent a majority of the month working on some new designs. On to July. I tried out a bit of a new style and did a bunch of little doodles for 4th of July. I remember this month to be pretty busy. In addition to working on more designs for my shop, I also attempted to start up YouTube again. Throughout the entire month of July, I only released one 5-minute week in my life video. I had a lot of it planned out ahead of time, but somehow I ended up forgetting to film a lot of my week, so you can imagine that it was harder to edit a video with no footage. The last month in this journal is August. For this month's theme, it was my first time doing the digital folder theme, and for many of you on Instagram, you'll know that I do a lot of this in the future. I feel like this month kind of passed in the blink of an eye. If you look closely at some of my weeklies, I titled 2 of them July instead of August. And I also feel like that I passed a majority of the time worried about my sophomore year and having to balance my schoolwork with my business. I was definitely also worried about my upcoming math class. I remember I went back and looked through all of my Algebra 2 chapters and compiled an entire thing of notes that covered everything I learned. This was also around the time where SE decided to shut down my shop. So that was definitely not a good way to end the summer. Alright, this is the end of my 2021 Part 2 journal, and so I'm going into the 2021 Part 3. Most of my yearly spreads were pretty much unfinished. It wasn't really one of my top priorities to get it done, but then I just ended up never doing it. First up in the new journal is September. I remember being very happy with this cover page because I remember it was around this time that I wanted to really improve my art style and finally do a theme based around tea. Even though school was starting up around this time, I still found that I had some time to work on YouTube videos. And going back to working on my sticker shop, as he still wasn't responding to my customer service email, so I decided to call it and start my own shop on Wix. Since I had already had a website on Wix prior to this, the shop actually didn't take too long to set up, and it was definitely nice to be able to sell again. Next up is October. This month I did a standard pumpkin theme because I had no mind space left for any creativity. Around this time, school was definitely getting busier and I found it much harder to have the time to work on things I actually wanted to work on. After being in quarantine for over a year, I definitely got used to the amount of free time to work on things and just be really flexible with my schedule. So I definitely think that this, in addition to harder classes and an entirely new campus, definitely contributed to the fact that this definitely wasn't the best month. But looking on the bright side, I did get a lot of inquiries this month, so I got the opportunity to work with a lot of really cool businesses. Here is November. I knew I had to do a Studio Ghibli theme sometime this year. November definitely ended up being one of the most hectic months this year. My water polo season was just starting and my classes obviously weren't getting any easier, so I decided to put my shop and YouTube on pause. I really didn't like to spend less time on my business, but it definitely lifted a lot of the stress that I was feeling in October. But somehow, despite my schedule, I was still able to really improve my art style this month and put a lot of time into my weekly spreads. Lastly, I have December. My schedule was still pretty busy around this time, but I wanted to keep up the rhythm of making good spreads, so I decided to spend a lot of time on my cover page this month, and I'm really happy with how this one came out. My motivation was definitely starting to burn out near the end of this semester. I was still balancing water polo, studying for finals, and my art, and somehow I was still able to get a way better grade than I thought I was going to get on my math final. Well, this pretty much wraps up the end of the video, and I have to say it was honestly really cool to look back and see all my journals from this year, and watch how my style progressed, the different things I was working on throughout the year, and pretty much just how far I've come with this whole bullet journal journey. So thank you so much for making 2021 one of the craziest years, and thank you so much for watching.